Well, hello, everybody. Yes, it's been a hot minute. I've been gone a lot. I've really been struggling with depression and foot pain, which I think is the fear of stepping into my future. So, anyway, I've been kind of turning the corner lately. And I had intended quite a while back to talk about the Three of Clubs. I don't know why. My husband is the Three of Clubs. And it's an absolutely wonderful card. But I also wanted to talk about your activator card. So, what I've noticed, and my Eight of Clubs daughter is here visiting. And what I've noticed is that every time we're together, I sort of come back to life. I get really activated. I access lots of different parts of me. It could be that she's just my daughter, but there's also a very unique relationship between the Seven of Diamonds, Nine of Hearts, and Eight of Clubs. The Eight of Clubs is equidistant from the Nine of Hearts and the Seven of Diamonds. And what I have figured out, okay, so if you take that distance, it's if you go to the Pluto card in the hand and then you go Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn, it would be the Saturn, the second Saturn. So there's Pluto and then 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the fourth one after that. So it's called Cosmic Moon, I think, Transformed Self, maybe. The transformed self would really fit, wouldn't it? So no matter what year it is or what age I am or what planetary period I'm in, that Eight of Clubs is my transformed self card. So for the sake of conversation, tell me what your transformed self card is, which is not based on your age. It's just based on your birthday, your card, your hand, your birth hand. So go ahead and type in what your card is, and then we can talk about your activator card and what kind of relationship you have with those people, because that's the easiest way to figure out what that card feels like. If that particular card is sitting in a particular position for you this year, there's another clue as to how that operates for you. So it never shows up for me during the year because of the Seven of Diamonds. It's always there. So, yeah, I had a boyfriend that was Eight of Clubs. I had a husband for 3 years whose planetary ruler was the Eight of Clubs, and definitely awakened sleeping aspects of me. Really moved me into a place quite easily, even though it's like the double Saturn card, that transformed self energy. Maybe it isn't, Saturn at all. That's just kind of for convenience what we called it. Maybe it does have a really activating, enlivening kind of aspect to it. So rather than call it the transformed self, I would say the transforming self. I like to put ing at the end of just about everything to acknowledge that it is happening in the present. And we tend to think of either I've achieved this or I haven't achieved this. And we think in snapshots rather than videos. Our life is more like a video than a snapshot, right? So that transforming self card is always operating in your birth card hand. So go ahead and type in what your card is, and we can take a look at that for you. Meanwhile, we can talk about the Three of Clubs. So welcome back, everybody. I've been absent. I've really missed doing this, and here we are in the present. So who cares why I wasn't here? It's just life. So the Three of Clubs, first of all, let's start assessing it by where it lives in the pure spread. So we know it sits underneath the King of Diamonds. So, and there is a very strong diamond energy about the Three of Clubs. Even though they don't have a lot of really prominent diamonds in their hand, they sit down here in this line, which is all diamonds in the pure spread. So there's a very strong values so there's belief in consciousness and ideas, but values are more like, the diamonds are more like conviction. It's like this emotional component, this fiery component gets added to the belief. And I believe the suits are cumulative. So the club they're very tenderhearted. They're not just mental. They're integrating the emotion with the mind, hopefully. And then the diamond is incorporating all three and adding an element of, um, I would say heart, even though it's not a heart. It's maybe the fires of the power center, the hara that we think of as fire down here. It adds that, and then that leads to the action of the spade, which incorporates all of those things. But the three of clubs definitely has a very strong diamond feeling to it. So in the pure spread, it sits in the intersection of Venus and Mars. It's a very potent conversation, and it's also very close in. The personal planets, the ones closer in, like Mercury, Venus, Mars, and then Jupiter, kind of Saturn, they get further out there. But, and the moon card, they're all very close in. So being ruled by Venus and Mars, I've noticed that these people are they're very tight to their experience. They're very tight to both Venus, what they love, what they like, what they enjoy, what they, love, like in all senses of the word. And they're all very, very relational. And then that Mars is very action oriented, and they're in the Mars line. And I have noticed they are all very action-oriented people. As soon as there's an idea or something, they just do. My husband's always 5 minutes ahead of me getting to the car. He's used to it by now, but you have an idea, you put it into action. The planning stage is kind of short and intense, and then it's like, just go do. And I love that about them. But I think there's also a danger of kind of running headlong into something being, maybe directed by one's passions, jumping into it. So I don't know, do you have any three of clubs in your life? How are they aspected to you? And how do you experience them? So for me, it's ascending Venus. So it's a very comfortable connection with my husband. We're practically ruled by Venus. And I never really thought about the fact that he's got a very strong Venus ingredient there. So the danger of too much Venus is, I don't know, just leisurely hanging out on the couch a little bit too much. And sticking with what you like rather than, hey, let's leave our comfort zone in order to have some new experiences. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the three of clubs and all of the clubs that they're dealing with here in the Mars line. I'm getting a hit to talk a little bit about the two of clubs, four of clubs on either side. And it's something we don't really think about because it's sort of, you take it for granted, the cards on either side of you in the pure spread. But when you really think about them in terms of the Mercury and the moon vibration, what gives you a sense of emotional fulfillment? For the three of clubs, it's having a conversation. And if you notice, they are all incredibly conversant. That three is always wanting to process ideas and think out loud or journal about it. They tend to be people of lots of words. But the emotional, hi Brenda, three of clubs is my challenging karma card. Okay, so that means that does that mean that it's sitting in your position? Are you the five of diamonds? Or are you the king of diamonds? You're the king of diamonds. Anyway, it'd be interesting to see how this affects you. So when we think about that two of clubs sitting in a moon position, it's, sorry, there's a hair on the screen, which makes it look like there's a hair on my face. Okay, you're the king of diamonds. So, yeah, I think king of diamonds are very action-oriented, being in that moon line. So, when we say the karma card, it can either be challenging or it can be something that you've kind of got under your belt. And I've seen both. I've seen everything in that range. Tends to be a pretty intense relationship to it, but it doesn't have to be like the burr under your saddle. So you would be able to assess that by interacting with the Three of Clubs and see how that feels. So yes, very fulfilling, deeply fulfilling to the Three of Clubs is to talk, is to think, is to process with someone else, back and forth. Their self-talk tends to be an issue, huge. Well, it's an issue with all of us, but the getting in the head. Are you relating to the spiritual spread? Yes, yes. I am focusing on the Three of Clubs here in the King of Diamonds position in the Venus-Mars intersection. So how does the Four of Clubs, oh yeah, we're talking a little bit about the self-talk and how that can be really challenging. So the Four of Clubs on the other side, and you can see these as having a relationship, maybe talking something out with someone brings them to a sense of clarity and sanity. Hi, Ta. Happy day. Happy whatever day, right? I love that card, a greeting card that's like, you know, celebrate today just because whatever, I got you this card for no reason. I love that. Okay, so the Four of Clubs is about sanity, clarity, groundedness. And I think the shadow side of this is, having a very fixed perspective, being kind of stuck in a belief system. And the high side of it is that they're just very grounded. And so when they're moving in the ascending direction, the Four of Clubs is their moon card. And so it's not something they advertise, but they have a clarity about what they think and they believe, and they're kind of grounded. And then the Two of Clubs becomes this Mercury generosity when you're moving in the ascending direction. So conversation would be something that they offer to be in service of someone or something, of someone. So I definitely see that. It's like, are they caught in their head and being really fixed about their ideas, or are they confident in their ideas and moving out in a generous conversational style? So yeah, okay, now my guides are telling me to talk a little bit more about what it's like to inhabit the Saturn line. So the Three of Clubs, I want to say always, but in every case I've seen, in every case of anybody who is in the Saturn line, they have a very challenging beginning. So if this is your karma card, this might be a past life influence. It might be something you're still working with or something you've really mastered, because the King of Diamonds definitely seems like a very mature, and then they have that King of Hearts right next to them. They've won, it's like they've gone through this already. So there is a loving paternal energy, a loving father energy that comes from the karma card. And maybe it's because they've been through this. I've never really thought about this. But anybody in the Saturn line, they're all odd cards, except the Queen of Diamonds, if you want to consider her vibration 12. But the dot or the pip is always in the middle, which means their focus is on their resolving some internal state. So I'll just go through these really quick. The Three of Spades can be that they have two different locations that they live in their early life. And this was true of my husband. They had Grand Rapids, Michigan is where they lived during the school year. And then they would vacation up north. Everybody goes up north in Michigan. And they would spend the entire summer in a different little town up there. And so he had two completely different lives. And this can be an asset, obviously, and it can be really challenging, or it can be early divorce, early separation, having two homes, two radically different viewpoints, two different identities, kind of being pulled in two different directions. The Nine of Hearts in Venus can indicate, like in the low side, a real gap in terms of maternal love, in terms of knowing that you're unconditionally loved. I mean, maybe the lucky ones have that's exactly what they have. That Nine of Hearts in Venus is a unconditionally strong, loving mother. But more often than not, it's a vacancy. Now, this Five of Hearts is about a vacancy too, but I'm going to come back to that later. The Seven of Clubs is actually, I've come across this again and again. Someone in the family is diagnosable. It can be Mars, the father, or it can be in the arena of sexuality. But it's very often some kind of like bipolar, narcissistic, borderline, da 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 da. And everyone in this Saturn line that I've talked to, when I just throw that out there, they're like, something really major will come out. But the Seven of Clubs is also brilliance and genius. So there is often somebody genius in the family. Don't you find those two go together? The Five of Diamonds this is their Mercury, Venus, Mars. It's their Jupiter as well as their karma card here. So the Five of Diamonds in Jupiter can mean getting out and traveling and movement and change can be very advantageous and refreshing to them. I'll just leave it at that. It can also represent a kind of inconsistency or unpredictability. The Queen of Spades down here calls them to self-mastery. Queen of Spades in Saturn means they have bitten off a really large chunk of life assignment. And that Queen of Spades will not let them off the hook. It will dog them. And even if a dysfunctional person calls them out, which is the most difficult thing, until they stop and they acknowledge, okay, yeah, I have been irresponsible. I haven't been accepting responsibility for what I did. I am an alcoholic, or, whatever it is. Until they really own that, they're not going to be able to move on. So often they manifest a very strong female who acts in the vein of like a life coach or someone to call them on stuff, including spirituality. And oh my God, does this describe our marriage? I've never thought of myself as the Queen of Spades, but I am because I'm like always calling him. I mean, that's what wives do, but like I do it with precision and a level of genius. Can't help myself. Okay. The Jack of Clubs in Uranus, the danger of saying, oh, I don't care, becoming non-attached. But that's also a genius card in a genius position. So being too much in their head can get them through a difficult childhood, but it can also become dissociation. Okay, the Nine of Diamonds in Neptune. So delusional thinking about a complete lack of value. And one of my dearest friends is a Three of Clubs, and this very much fits her. It's like there's a hole. There's just a hole where self-esteem should be. And even though her mom was just an incredibly sweet, wonderful person, she was pretty vacant. She was kind of high the whole time Julie was growing up. And that Nine of Diamonds is another like hole and vacancy in terms of I can't see myself. I don't know my own value. I feel invisible. These nines are a very powerful operating system growing up for them. And it also is a hidden gift and ability. So we often think of Uranus as the special gift or the genius. I do, but Neptune, I've tested this over and over again. There's a hidden gift and a genius, an exceptional ability to do something in the Neptune. I've often said that it's something that we dream about or idealize, but I've also seen that it's a giftedness. And that Nine of Diamonds represent generosity. And a lot of Three of Clubs that I know are some of the most generous people I have ever met. He has it to the bone. I don't understand it. We've been together for almost 14 years, and he cooks for us all the time. And he has never once complained about it. Not a single time. It's just beyond. I don't get it, especially with a really dysfunctional family background. So this Nine of Diamonds could be generosity. So the Seven of Spades is, okay, the Pluto card. So this tends to be pessimism. Things just aren't going to work out for me. Whenever a seven shows up, there's an expectation of obstacle. That's really something to plug in and test out and see how true that might be. Do you have a seven in your hand anywhere? And in that arena of your life, do you tend to be an Eeyore and kind of expect to be disappointed? So my Eight of Clubs daughter, Seven of Clubs right next to her, right? In that spiritual spread. And she I identified that for her real early on, and I was like, you expect to be disappointed, don't you? And she even said it this morning, and I just quoted it back to her. I was like, so you're expecting to be disappointed, hmm? Anyway, so that 7 of spades, it tends to be a crisis in faith for the 3 of clubs. And until they really find a spiritual path that really, really fits them, I think there can be a lot of wounding that comes through religion. I'm not going to say spirituality, I'm going to say religion. But it can also be, my guides are showing me like a nut around which something turns. Like it can be a pivot. It can be a really important pivot point when they finally make peace with the religious upbringing and then the choosing of the spiritual path. It can really help them overcome. So it's a faith card. And we'll just end it there as far as the descending hand. Now, the 5 of hearts, I wanted to come back to that. It is absolutely essential for their emotional health to disconnect, completely disconnect. Go on a vacation all by yourself. Go fishing for a few hours. For my husband, early in our relationship, this manifested as disappearing for a few days. I need to be off the hook. I never got my time as a child. I had to steal it, so I'm going to steal it. Steal it, steal it, steal it, because I don't expect you to give it to me. And eventually we got past it. And he doesn't take enough retreats at this point, but it's a very powerful desire to disconnect. It also means that they are insatiably curious about people, about all kinds of people. They are gifted conversationalists with just about everyone, and they have a capacity to make you feel accepted, included. Sometimes there's a psychic gift that comes with that 3 of clubs, with the Jack of clubs in Uranus. They're really intuitive, and a lot of them don't know it, how incredibly intuitive they are. So this gives them this talent and this gift with people in terms of conversation. So does anybody have anything to say about 3 of clubs and how that figures in? Gosh, I don't even know what it, okay, I think it's August 14th today. What's the card? I don't even know. It's a club. August 14th is the Queen of Clubs and the Queen of Clubs. And the Queen of Clubs. No, yes, it actually is for women. It's a triple Queen of Clubs day for women. This should be called Women's Day. It probably isn't. But yeah, today is a day of maybe really trusting your intuition. It's a good day to connect with Mother Mary. Let's see what else. Okay, so I know Brenda's the King of Diamonds. Let's talk about your activating card. So the activating card is also the transformed self card. So you have Pluto, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the 4th card. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be the Ace of Diamonds for you descending. And yes, ascending. This very much applies. Mine would be the Queen of Hearts. Oh, it's another ex-husband. Very true. And a life coach. That's the ascending. Man, extremely loud helicopter. God, we have such loud helicopters. And I've noticed ambient noise generally doesn't get picked up by videos, so people are like, oh, I'm so disturbed. And everyone's like, what? Like, I don't even hear it. Okay, so the Ace of Diamonds. Do you know, chances are, Brenda, that you know an Ace of Diamonds? Because it is the most, that and the King of Clubs are the most common birthdays in the year. There are the most of those 2 cards of any. So the Ace of Diamonds would be very like inspiring, give you ideas, help you expand into a sense of possibility. And that's perfect for the King of Diamonds because they're the intersection of the optimist, Jupiter and Neptune. They think in terms of the sky's the limit and possibilities. Okay, so does anybody else want to give me their birthday and we can talk about this activating card a little bit and how it operates? So obviously if you're resisting, and thank you for the thumbs up. It does help the algorithm if you just pop the like button. So quickly lose my train of thought. If you're commenting, I can't see it. Oh, Moon Doula Empress, just thank you. You're also the King of Diamonds. So we have a nexus of the King of Diamonds karma card to the Three of Clubs. Brenda, yes, my grandmother was an Ace of Diamonds, and my granddaughter and sister are Ace of Diamonds. Oh, how perfect is that? And do they give you that kind of sense of expansion of possibility? Okay, Ace of Spades. And Mundula, I would ask you, do you know any Ace of Diamonds in your life? And going in the other direction, it would be the 10 of Spades. I know several Ace of Diamonds. Yes, they do. Oh, that's wonderful. That's just so confirming. I never really thought about the potency of this card, lifting you out kind of into, it's like the furthest out of your hand, and it expands, let's expand our consciousness. Has anybody had any really wild dreams lately? I've heard the Lionsgate really activated dreams. Coach Ali, I was told as a Three of Clubs that I would be great at being a reader of the cards. Oh, definitely, because you have that Jack of Clubs in your descending Uranus, which is the genius card. Very intuitive, very clever, very Uranian, alternative in the ways that you look at it. So yeah, absolutely. Plus the Ace of Spades is in there somewhere. The Ace of Spades is here. So it would be your first, like Jupiter Plus, the first card, like the lifetime reward card. The Ace of Spades sits under that, which represents the card system. Yes. And the Ace of Spades, Ta, your activating card, so your Pluto is the King of Hearts, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. The Two of Diamonds would be, yes, I do teach classes, not on a regular basis, and classes are available on my website. There's a couple intro courses, which I really stand by, even though I did them years ago. It's like, yeah, the basics are the basics. So I think it's $100 for the intro course, which I think is 4 classes. Anyway, so Ta, do you know any Two of Diamonds, and how do they strike you? Do they activate you? Do they trigger you? Do they open you up? Is there a good feeling about them? Okay, so you don't have an Ace of Diamonds in your life. Okay, then do you have a 10 of Spades? That's a really rare card. Also famous Ace of Diamonds. So there's a plethora of them. The first one I can think of is Matt Damon. How do you feel about Matt Damon? He came to me in a dream once, and I was like, what's fame like? And he goes, you get used to it. Okay, but you do have a 9 of Hearts in your life. So I'm wondering why you brought that up. Let's talk about your connection to the 9 of Hearts has a Neptune, a past life Neptune card to the Ace of Spades. It would be your ascending Neptune, which I think would also be an expander, someone with whom you can easily project stuff, like unconsciously. There may also be a sense of they hold a kind of ideal energy. Oh, that's a drag. Okay, what's your planetary ruler? And thank you for participating. I just love it when people participate. So yeah, let's wait a second and see if Moon will give us her birthday. Oh, you did, right? The 2nd of July, which means your planetary ruler descending is the King of Hearts. So do you have Ace of Hearts in your life? Even more rare. Okay, ascending Queen of Clubs. That's really common. Okay, Queen of Clubs would be the ascending transformed self card. Queen of Clubs are going to be high-strung, intuitive, moving very quickly, very networking and connecting. They know everybody. And as a King of Diamonds, it could be extremely useful to you in business. The networker. It's also your descending It's the first card past Pluto, which would have a Jupiter vibration to it. Yeah, the Queen of Clubs should be a really positive card for you. Okay, so how do you feel with your goddaughter? Is there, like, does something, what I'm getting is that something opens up inside of you, something very warm, and you just take it for granted because she's your goddaughter. But pay attention next time you're with her to, ooh, I'm feeling a tingling in my hands. Pay attention next time you're with her, how that feels. Ta says, I just checked 2 of Diamond's birthdays, and yes, my favorite aunt, who I call my earth angel, has been a huge factor in my life. Wow, that is so cool. I love that. Yeah, I can feel that. Yes, you absolutely adore her, your little Queen of Clubs. Oh, I bet she's just zippy, super clever, highly verbal. Um, I'm getting she's really colorful, interested in a lot of things. Just fun, really fun to be around. A little intense, but I feel like you have this gracious container for her. So you would be her descending in the same position. She's your ascending. So she has that feeling around you too. And what I get is that you're grounding for her and you see her. And she has a feeling of centeredness when she's with you. It's like she can locate herself. You know, the chipmunk medicine isn't in control quite as much. It's like, oh, I feel my heart. I feel my truth. And she feels reflected by that. Yeah, children are such a great way to kind of assess the cards in your response to them because they tend not to be terribly triggering, but just a little. She's the sweetest, funniest, and smart little kid. I bet she is. Yeah, Queen of Clubs are amazing. So I kind of feel like we might have run the gamut for everything we have to explore for the time being. So regarding Coach Ali's question, I'm so glad he asked it because since I've been sort of going through a haze of depression, and it really is just fear about stepping, as I grab my life coach's cards. She's next door. I've been working on this book called Little Things, and I have to write a whole chapter on the little things I did this morning to pull myself out of depression. But I really do love to teach. It's one of my favorite things, and I would love to have a class soon. After the dust kind of settles, when my daughter's gone, I'll be thinking more about it. And I've really wanted to do something focused on relationship. I mean, our lives are a relationship, aren't they? So I haven't zeroed in on it because it's so vast. You know, composite cards are really fun to look at, really fun. So for today, since it's a Queen of Clubs day and Moon Doula, this is going to be very relevant for you. Figure out your composite with the Queen of Clubs. So take the value of your card, the 1 to 52 value, and then add it to 25 because that's the Queen of Clubs. So, okay, I'm going to do my math really quick. Okay, today would be a 6 of Hearts influence for me. Yeah, pretty even. It's my Pluto card. And I want to about Pluto, when you've really worked through a lot of your issues, Pluto isn't triggering so much as activating, as putting you on your purpose. Because if you think of death and rebirth of Pluto, once you've done the rebirthing, once you're the butterfly, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? And then you focus on the rebirth self. So, okay, I guess that's about it for today. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you for showing up, and have a blessed day. I'll talk to you later.